Hi there, I'm Mark from Valor Excel. Let me ask you a really basic question. What's the difference between a nonprofit and a for-profit? Now, the easy answer is, well, a nonprofit isn't focused on making money, but a for-profit is. But that's really too simple to be true. And that easy answer belies the complexity of the question that I asked. Because truth be told, even though there are similarities between nonprofits and for-profits, nonprofits fall into a very distinctive slot. They are in a world of their own. And if you're the owner of a nonprofit, or maybe somebody who's just now kicking around the idea of trying to start one, there's something driving you. You feel impassioned about something that you really believe in enough to take steps toward bringing it into a tangible form. Now, at their heart, most nonprofits contain some element of serving others. When you say nonprofit, that's a grab bag. It's a huge, vast spectrum. There are many different kinds of organizations that operate in a myriad of spheres. But much of the nonprofit world is centered around trying to serve and help other people. Whatever that looks like for you, you have a very impassioned goal if you're pursuing putting a nonprofit together, because it doesn't guarantee financial success. It doesn't guarantee a quick return on investment. And that alone is a delineator from someone who's just trying to start a for-profit business. But it goes much, much deeper than that. And today I'd like to just share a couple of things with you to keep in mind, whether you already are operating a nonprofit or if you're just taking steps toward obtaining your own 501c3. The truth is, behind any nonprofit is that goal, and it really comes down to purpose. Now, anything worthwhile that we do in life should be motivated by a really strong underlying purpose, and that especially holds true in the nonprofit realm. So think about it this way. Your purpose really defines your nonprofit. So how do you define your purpose? If somebody were to ask you, well, what's your organization about? You can't just give a pat answer like, well, we're here to help people. Well, to help what people? And what kind of help are you providing? And what will that look like a week from now or 6 weeks from now? Are you providing help in the short term for a long-term problem? Or are you helping people for something that they have to work out over a period of months or even years? The more questions you ask, the more there are to ask. But you really need to do that to understand in your own mind, from your own perspective, what that underlying purpose is. And once you really establish your purpose, that needs to become deeply invested in every element of your organization. Undeniably, you've heard about mission and vision statements, and I know sometimes that can sound corny, but the mission and the vision really are the components that you always need to keep in mind as you develop whatever you're doing in your organization. And you can't have either one of those if you haven't really defined your purpose. So part of that is looking at the mission. It's your daily operations. It's how you'll actually interact with and serve those people that you care about. Now, the mission gets carried out each business day, but then there's the vision. And the vision goes a little bit deeper than the mission because the vision is what you're ultimately trying to achieve. You may be working on things in the short term that are actually working toward and serving a larger long-term goal. And that's really your vision. It's great to know from a mission perspective what you're doing today, but what are you working toward? What are you planning on doing 5 years from today? Once you crystallize all of that, and the real purpose behind what you're doing is enshrined in those two things, your mission and your vision, then it needs to trickle down through everything in your entire organization. The way you structure things, the kind of people that you put on your team, the policies that guide why you do certain things, and even the procedures that determine how those things get carried out. You can never stray from that purpose. You have to always look back to that original catalyst that set you on the journey in the first place. And the minute you start to lose focus, you'll stop functioning effectively as an organization. I always get a kick out of people who look at a nonprofit and somehow see it as this volunteer organization of people willingly giving up their time in pursuit of some noble cause, with no thought whatsoever to any kind of financial accountability because they're not trying to make a profit. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. There's a high level of fiscal responsibility in a nonprofit, and much of that comes from the fact that you're not just operating with your own money. You're not like a standard business that is collecting revenue from the sale of goods or services. Most of the time, you're relying on donors, you're relying on grants or endowments, and you have to be accountable to those sources of income. You have to justify the use of the funds that you're receiving. And you can't do that if you don't really understand and clarify the purpose behind everything you do. And that's where it gets to be a little bit tricky. Because in a standard business setting, somebody comes to you, you provide them with goods or services, they pay you, and the transaction is completed. But you can't really look at things from a transactional level in a nonprofit because it goes a lot deeper than that. It's not about simply handing something to someone and them then providing you with income that will continue to fuel your efforts. It's much more about investing in them. Remember how we talked earlier about that underlying idea of serving and helping people. In your nonprofit, your ultimate goal isn't to somehow get money, but it is to invest something in the person you're serving. People come to you because you can meet a unique need, and you need to find ways to do that, and it always ties back to your purpose. Remember, your purpose is what's motivating you. So find ways to implant that in the interactions that you have with the people that you're serving, and it'll make the circle complete. A minute ago, I talked about a volunteer organization. Now, if you are the operator of a nonprofit, at some point, you'll probably enlist the aid of volunteers and maybe even interns. And that's a perfect sphere for people to share their talents. Because if you find people who really are passionate about the same purpose that you have, they'll be willing to invest in that. And many people are not looking for any kind of financial compensation. They just believe in the mission and the vision of the organization, and they commit themselves to what they're doing. Now, I caution you, when you look toward volunteers, you can't just take the first person who raises their hand and says, "Oh, please pick me." It really does come down to understanding that they are like-minded. You can't get yourself aligned with somebody who doesn't really buy into that deep purpose that underlies everything that you do in your organization. If you can find people who really embrace that purpose, then it can be a tremendous collaborative partnership that will benefit both of you and really grow the organization. Now, I talked about the idea of funding a nonprofit, and it really does come down to endowments, grants, donations. Those are the core factors for bringing revenue in to actually operate on a daily basis. It's very different from what you encounter if you're a small business, where somebody is coming to you for goods and services, you provide whatever they need, they pay you, and you both go your separate ways. What's different in the setting of funding a nonprofit is that in order to get those grants or endowments or donations, you need to motivate and inspire and really engage with the people who are willing to send money your way. And the only way that you can do that is to get them on board with your purpose. You have to be as specific as you can and as relevant as you can. And if you're already in existence, as your organization is going about its business and serving people, you need to find ways to translate that story over to those potential funding sources so that they see the legitimacy of the efforts you're already carrying out and will commit to helping you to do even more in the future. So figure out ways to articulate that and make sure that whatever you're doing never strays from that. Because if you seek funds to pursue a particular goal, if your mission and your vision align with a very clearly defined purpose, and later on you suddenly embrace a different purpose, don't ever look for funding to come from those sources again, because they'll look at what you're doing and they'll realize that you weren't really committed to what you said you were. The purpose that defines your organization can't vary. You can't 6 months later suddenly drift over into something else. You'll lose your funders because they'll recognize that you're not really committed. You'll lose the potential of people volunteering because they won't really understand what the organization is about. And you yourself will lose so much focus that you'll never reach the vision that you established because your mission will keep changing as you keep taking on new things. You can't address everything under the sun. You have to focus on the key components that really define your purpose. I heard somebody say one time, if you're opening an ice cream shop, you can have 150 flavors, but you better have chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry, because those are the main ones that most people are gravitating toward. So in your nonprofit, you can embrace other smaller subsets of your overall purpose, but don't change your purpose. Don't lose focus. Don't forget why you started in the first place. Defining your purpose is critical. And if you can do that, you can succeed, because you can get others to invest in your organization, not only financially, but through their support in the community. Sometimes simply having people through word of mouth talk about what your organization does and how it can help someone can be the most tremendous asset. So always keep the purpose at the forefront. And if you do, you will be on a healthy trajectory toward real success. But how do you know right now if the steps you're taking are helping you? Are you doing enough? Are you doing everything that you should? How are you responding to the various circumstances that you deal with as you maneuver through the daily operations of your business or your nonprofit? If you click on the link in the description below this video, you can download a free PDF. It's called Taking Your Organization's Temperature. And whether you're a small business or a nonprofit, it'll give you a real insight into how you go about operating, how you make your decisions, how you respond to the factors that influence you every day. Also, if you are a nonprofit, you might be struggling with the whole idea of trying to find funding. Maybe you want to bring grant money into your organization, but you're very overwhelmed at the whole prospect of writing grants. I'm also including a link in the description below for Face Your Fears. It's a fantastic course created by Valor Excel's CEO, Lori Riston, that will walk you through every facet of obtaining and writing relevant grants to fund your vision and mission and to fulfill the purpose of your nonprofit. I hope this was beneficial for you. If it was, please give this video a like. And in the comments below, tell me what the purpose of your organization is. And be as specific as you can and do it in one sentence. I'm an outsider looking in. If I wanted a capsule summary of your purpose, what would it be? I'd also like to invite you to subscribe to Valor Excel. We have new content on a regular basis, and all of it is specifically geared toward nonprofits and small businesses. I really appreciate you joining me today. I invite you to come back for the next installment. Remember, at Valor Excel, we're committed to helping you do smart work. Thanks again. I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.